You walk into a clinic for a routine checkup. You feel perfectly fine. No pain, no discomfort, no reason to worry. But then, your doctor shows you something astonishing. Using a brand new artificial intelligence system, they can look at your medical data and tell you not only if you're healthy now, but if you're at risk of developing one of over 1,000 diseases years before the very first symptom ever appears. Cancers, heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes. Things that usually hide silently until it's too late. This AI claims it can see the invisible, predict the unpredictable, and maybe even save lives before the first warning signs. But how does it really work? Is it hype, or is it the future of medicine? And what would a world look like where diseases are predicted long before they strike? Today, we're diving deep into the groundbreaking world of AI-powered predictive medicine, a technology that might just change what it means to be human. Most people don't realize this, but some of the most dangerous diseases in the world don't start with obvious symptoms. Take Alzheimer's, for example. By the time memory loss becomes noticeable, the brain may have already been undergoing silent changes for 10 to 20 years. Or cancer. Many tumors grow quietly, undetected, until they reach an advanced stage where treatment becomes difficult and survival rates plummet. Even heart disease, the world's leading killer, doesn't usually announce itself until a heart attack or stroke suddenly strikes. In fact, nearly half of first heart attacks happen in people who didn't know they had any problem at all. This is the central tragedy of modern medicine. We often catch diseases late, when the body is already damaged. Doctors, for decades, have dreamed of a system that could see years ahead, spotting risks before they manifest into life-threatening illness. And now, artificial intelligence is bringing that dream within reach. So, how can a computer possibly predict something as complex as disease years in advance? It begins with data. Your body is producing information every second of your life. Blood tests, DNA sequences, brain scans, heartbeat rhythms, sleep cycles. Even tiny chemical markers floating in your bloodstream called biomarkers. In the past, this mountain of data was simply too massive for doctors to analyze. Human brains aren't built to spot millions of subtle patterns hidden across thousands of medical variables. But AI thrives on exactly that kind of complexity. By training on enormous data sets, millions of patient records, genetic profiles, medical scans, and health outcomes, AI systems can start to recognize patterns that even the most skilled doctors could never see. For example, maybe there's a slight change in the way your heartbeat varies at night, or a subtle shift in certain proteins in your blood that appear years before cancer shows up on a scan. On their own, these changes are invisible, but put them together across millions of people, and AI can find the statistical fingerprints of disease years before symptoms appear. One such system, still in experimental phases, has already been shown to predict over 1,000 different diseases ranging from Parkinson's to liver failure, all from simple health data and predictive models. It's like giving doctors a time machine, one that can look 5, 10, even 20 years into your medical future. Let's break it down simply. Data collection. The AI starts with enormous amounts of health data. Electronic medical records, MRI scans, genetic sequencing, blood work, and even lifestyle data from wearables like smartwatches. Pattern recognition. Using machine learning, the system looks for connections between today's data and tomorrow's diseases. For example, People who developed Alzheimer's often had subtle changes in blood proteins decades earlier. Patients who later had heart attacks showed tiny, almost unnoticeable changes in ECG patterns years before. Prediction model. Once trained, the AI can take a new person's data and map it against these hidden patterns, spitting out predictions like, this individual has a 72% chance of developing type 2 diabetes within the next 12 years. This patient shows early signs of increased risk for colon cancer. Continuous learning. Unlike a static medical test, the AI gets smarter over time. Every new patient and every new outcome feeds back into the system, refining its accuracy. The result? Medicine that is not just reactive, but proactive. Instead of waiting for illness to strike, doctors can step in early, sometimes decades early, to prevent suffering before it ever begins. This might sound like science fiction, but it's already happening in laboratories and hospitals around the world. Take Google's DeepMind, for example. Their AI was trained on thousands of eye scans and could detect not only eye diseases, but also predict cardiovascular risk, just by looking at the blood vessels in the retina. Or consider MIT's Mirai system, an AI trained to read mammograms. It doesn't just detect breast cancer early. It can predict the likelihood of a woman developing breast cancer within the next 5 years, even when her scans appear perfectly normal to human doctors. Another project in the UK used AI to analyze electronic health records and predict kidney failure 48 hours before it happened. That's not years, but in critical care, even 48 hours can mean the difference between life and death. And then there's genomics-based AI, which looks at your DNA. By scanning through billions of genetic letters, AI can predict risks for diseases like diabetes, heart disease, or even certain cancers, sometimes decades before they appear. What makes all this groundbreaking is not just accuracy, it's timing. If you know someone is likely to develop lung cancer 12 years from now, you can monitor them closely, encourage lifestyle changes, or intervene with preventive medicine. It's not about predicting fate. It's about creating opportunities to change it. Imagine the patient experience in this new AI-driven world. Instead of yearly checkups that only catch problems once they're visible, your doctor can provide a personalized health forecast. It might look like this. You're currently healthy, but your AI health profile suggests a 65% risk of developing hypertension by your mid-40s. Let's start dietary adjustments and monitor closely. Your genetic and lifestyle data show an increased likelihood of Alzheimer's in 20 years. We can begin preventive strategies now. Mental exercises, sleep regulation, and potential medications as they're developed. The AI suggests early signs of liver stress. It's not disease yet, but let's run some targeted tests. For doctors, this changes everything. Instead of firefighting diseases as they appear, they can focus on prevention and early management. For patients, it means empowerment. You're no longer waiting helplessly for illness to strike, but actively working to avoid it. It also redefines what we mean by being healthy. Right now, healthy usually means not sick today. But with AI predictive medicine, healthy could mean knowing your future risks and actively working to reduce them. But here's where things get complicated. If an AI can tell you that you're at high risk of a disease that may strike in 20 years, do you even want to know? Some people might say yes. Tell me everything so I can prepare. Others might feel overwhelmed, anxious, or even paralyzed by predictions about their future health. And then there's the question of accuracy. What if the AI predicts you'll get Parkinson's, but you never do? Or what if it fails to warn you about cancer that strikes suddenly? Even with 90% accuracy, mistakes will happen, and those mistakes have consequences. Insurance companies also enter the picture. If your health risks can be predicted decades in advance, should insurers have access to that information? Could it lead to higher premiums or even denial of coverage for people flagged as high risk? Employers, too, might misuse this knowledge. Imagine applying for a job, but being quietly rejected because predictive AI shows you may be at risk for heart disease in your 40s. And what about privacy? Predicting disease requires massive amounts of sensitive personal data. Your medical history, your DNA, even your daily habits. If that data is leaked or misused, the results could be catastrophic. So, while the promise is incredible, the ethical landscape is a minefield. The technology is powerful, but who gets to control it and how it's used may shape the future of healthcare for better or worse. To really understand the power of this AI, let's imagine some everyday lives it could touch. Meet Ananya, a 32-year-old teacher. She feels completely healthy, but during a routine checkup, the clinic runs her data through the AI. The system quietly detects a high probability of early-onset breast cancer within 12 years. Normally, no doctor would ever see this coming, not at her age. But thanks to prediction, she begins regular screening and preventive lifestyle adjustments. Years later, when cancer cells do begin to form, they're caught at stage 0, easily treatable, with no impact on her future. Then there's David, a 45-year-old father too. His smartwatch is synced to an AI health platform that monitors his sleep and heart rate variability. The AI notices subtle irregularities that suggest his heart might not be functioning as efficiently as it should. It sends a quiet alert to his doctor. Potential heart risk detected. Within weeks, tests confirm the beginnings of coronary artery disease. Because it's caught so early, David manages to reverse much of the damage with diet, exercise, and medication, avoiding what could have been a deadly heart attack in his 50s. Or consider Mei Lin, a college student. Her genome was sequenced at birth, and her AI health profile has been monitoring her risk factors her whole life. At age 20, the AI flags early risks of type 2 diabetes, based not just on her genetics, but also on her current lifestyle. Instead of being blindsided decades later, she changes her habits early, possibly escaping the disease entirely. These are not far-off sci-fi scenarios. They're the kinds of transformations this technology is already hinting at. Each patient isn't just a case. They're a life extended, a family kept whole, a future saved. Now, let's fast forward 20 years into the future. Hospitals might look very different. Instead of long lines of sick patients waiting for treatment, much of healthcare is proactive. AI-powered systems constantly monitor individuals, sending gentle nudges and alerts. You're dehydrated today. Drink more water. Sleep quality has dropped. Let's run a brain health scan. Your risk of arthritis is rising. Try these exercises. Annual checkups could be replaced with AI health dashboards, like financial reports for your body, forecasting your wellness over the next decade. Pharmacies may sell personalized preventive medicine tailored not just to symptoms, but the predicted risks unique to each person. Insurance might shift from covering treatment to rewarding prevention, lower premiums for those actively reducing predicted risks. And perhaps the most radical change, the line between sick and healthy may blur. In the future, almost everyone will live with a kind of predicted medical profile, knowing not just who they are today, but who they might become tomorrow. But every technology with great power also carries great risk. What happens if this predictive AI falls into the wrong hands? Picture a world where employers demand access to your health forecast before hiring you. Oh, you have a 40% risk of Alzheimer's in 30 years? Sorry, we'll hire someone else. Or where insurance companies weaponize predictions. If the AI says you're high risk, your coverage could be denied or made so expensive you can't afford it. Governments, too, could misuse the data. In some dystopian scenarios, AI health predictions might be used to decide who gets medical care, who is seen as a burden, or even who is fit to reproduce. There's also the risk of psychological harm. Imagine being told at 18 years old that you have an 85% chance of getting Parkinson's by age 50. Would that motivate you to live healthier or haunt you every day of your life? And let's not forget false positives and false negatives. If the AI predicts an illness that never happens, it could cause unnecessary panic, treatment, or even surgery. If it misses a disease, patients may be lulled into a false sense of security. The technology is powerful, yes, but without careful regulation, transparency, and ethical safeguards, it could be abused in ways that hurt society more than help it. Despite these risks, one thing is clear. Medicine is standing on the edge of a revolution. For thousands of years, human health was a game of chance. Disease struck suddenly, and doctors did their best to fight back. In the last century, we improved vaccines, antibiotics, surgery, scans, all tools that extended life dramatically. But now, with predictive AI, we are entering a new era, one where disease may no longer be an unpredictable enemy, but a preventable challenge, one where the timeline of illness is rewritten, caught years, even decades, before suffering begins. It's not just about living longer. It's about living better. A future where grandparents live to see great-grandchildren grow up, where young people don't fear sudden tragedy, where humanity finally begins to outsmart its oldest adversary, disease itself. This is not science fiction anymore. It's the dawn of predictive medicine. And the question is no longer if this technology will change the world, but how soon. While most headlines focus on AI predicting diseases, the real impact could be even larger. Because if an AI can detect the earliest biological changes that lead to illness, it can also detect the earliest signs of health, what keeps us strong, resilient, and thriving. This shifts medicine from fighting sickness to optimizing life itself. Think of it this way. Instead of waiting to treat osteoporosis, AI could help strengthen bones decades before fractures ever occur. Instead of simply lowering risk for Alzheimer's, AI could guide personalized brain training routines that keep memory sharp into old age. Instead of reacting to cancer, AI could guide lifestyle adjustments that make your body less likely to develop tumors in the first place. Some researchers even imagine combining predictive AI with regenerative medicine, using stem cells, gene editing, or nanotechnology, not just to stop disease, but to repair and rejuvenate aging organs before failure ever begins. In other words, predictive AI isn't just a medical tool. It could be the foundation of a new kind of longevity science, helping humanity extend not only the years of life, but the quality of those years. But here is where the story turns philosophical. For centuries, human beings have lived with uncertainty. We didn't know what tomorrow would bring, much less what diseases might be hiding in our bodies. That uncertainty shaped how we lived, how we loved, how we valued time. Now, for the first time in history, AI offers us a window into our future selves. But that gift also raises profound questions. Do we want to know our future risks? If knowledge is power, how much power is too much? And if we can predict disease decades before it happens, will we start to view health not as a right, but as a responsibility? Some will embrace this future with excitement. A chance to save lives, protect families, and rewrite destiny. Others will approach with fear. The possibility of misuse, discrimination, or living under the constant shadow of probabilities. In truth, both sides are correct. Predictive AI is not inherently good or evil. It is a tool, and its impact depends on how we choose to wield it. Just as fire once gave us warmth, but also the power to destroy, this technology would demand wisdom, compassion, and above all, humanity. So here we stand at the dawn of a new era, an era where a simple checkup could map your future decades in advance, an era where doctors are no longer just healers, but navigators of time, guiding patients through possible futures, an era where disease may finally lose its element of surprise. The AI that predicts over 1,000 diseases before symptoms appear is not just a medical breakthrough. It's a mirror that shows us what's possible if we dare to look into the future, and a mirror that reflects our deepest questions about life, mortality, and destiny. Perhaps one day, generations will look back and say, that was the moment humanity took control of its health. That was the moment the future began. Until then, we remain at the edge, watching, waiting, and deciding how we will step into this brave new world of predictive medicine. And the only real question left is, if the AI could tell you your future health today, would you want to know?